Yes, us. Welcome to the Kefi Life Podcast. My name is Kefi L, and I'll be your guide to creating a life of Ola Kala. All is well. Together, we'll get back to the basics, and we'll explore fresh new ways to flourish in mind, body, and soul the Greek way. You can look forward to interviews, stories, essential self-care strategies, recipes, and actionable takeaway Ola Kala moments. This is going to be so much fun. Let's get going. Πάμε! Our Lexi for this week is Επιτυχία, or success. Επιτυχία, a strong concept which we humans chase, but honestly can be simply achieved when we do what we are uniquely born to do. How does one become successful at anything? By doing what he or she loves, and this person also loving what they are doing. This in itself is success. If you're a person who desires Epitychia of the highest order, then look no further than your own internal ethos. Eleolado, olive oil, has been celebrated in the civilized world for millennia. Nearly eternal, the oil of this fruit has been more than just food to the cultures of the Mediterranean region. It's been medicinal, ceremonial, sacramental, and the foundation of great wealth and power. It is safe to say that olive oil is the ethos, the essence of Greek culinary culture. Today, the priceless and life-giving ingredients of this liquid gold can be delivered to you when you purchase your premium bottle of Kefi Life extra virgin olive oil from the region my parents were born, the Peloponnese. The coveted Koroneiki olive is extensively cultivated here in the southern part of Greece, which offers the unique microclimate needed to grow a fruit netting the utmost nutrient value for extra virgin olive oil. Kefi Life extra virgin olive oil, a boundless amount of value, high in antioxidants with anti-inflammatory properties, linked to good mood and improved mental health. Get your bottle of wellness today when you visit kefilife.shop. Nelson Mandela once said, when you feel passionate about your work, there is no great difference between the way you feel on Monday morning and the way you feel on Saturday morning. I suspect this is the way Barry Butler, photographer, feels on a day-to-day basis. Barry Butler is a Chicago-based, Ireland-born, internationally published landscape and cityscape photographer. His work has appeared in a variety of media spanning television, books, advertising, and music album covers. The list goes on and on. His work is stunning. You have to see it. And as a matter of fact, if you're in the Chicagoland area, you will be able to do just that besides going online. So let's welcome Barry Butler. Thank you so much for joining us on Kefi Life, Barry.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I have been following your work. We met in the 90s when I worked under you at Metro Networks, and you have come full circle. You have taken, I guess, your hobby and turned it into a full-fledged career. But before we talk about that, are you actually, I think I read that you're from Ireland. Were you born in Ireland?
Yeah, I was born in Wexford, Ireland, which is southeast portion of Ireland, and came here when I was a little guy, so lost that brogue, cried with a brogue, I guess you could say. And my life started off because where we were living, I was born in a nursing home. And my crib was a drawer with a blanket in it, so I had nowhere but up after that. So but Ireland is a very important part of my life. I usually back there twice a year. Family, with the exception of my immediate family, is all back there. So that's certainly home.
Look at you. What an interesting story. Was that you were born in the nursing home because of?
Well, it was just too far. I guess I was just too impatient. So, the closest at that time, if you were to drive from Wexford to Dublin, where the hospitals were, that's a 2.5 hour drive. Mm-hmm. So, I came out on a Sunday evening as the church bells were ringing. So that's how I started off in a nursing home.
Well, you have such an interesting beginning to your life. I remember working with you and meeting you in the 90s, and you've risen so high, as you say. Share your background in the media and radio business for those that are not aware of that.
Well, where I started is kind of how I ended up today, because when I started in the broadcast business, I was flying in helicopters doing traffic reports at times. And with that allowed me to really have a good feeling of where things were in Chicago. And especially that aerial view has always been something that was interesting to me. And then at one point we had offices in the 94th floor of the Hancock. So again, I had that feeling of being way up in the air and having unusual views of the city. So when I got to the point where I was out doing photography specifically of Chicago, I have a real good feel for the city because of those early days, but that was all started with a broadcast career.
And that lends to capturing the special aspects of the city as, being immersed in it on a day-to-day basis. I've been following your work as a photographer for probably 3 or 4 years, and you have just grown so much in your business. You're becoming a Chicago staple. How do you capture, when you're looking at something like, I was looking at your website, and you have some pictures from the Chicago Air and Water Show, and I think there's one specifically called The Tornado. Did you capture that? I love that one. I just love that one. Did you capture that by chance, or were you looking for something, or how did that all come? How did that happen?
Well, whether it's that shot or another shot, it's a rare occasion that I capture something without some planning ahead of time. So whether it's a sunrise or moon coming through a certain spot, or even the shots of the Blue Angels, I have a pretty good plan most times before I go out. So nothing usually surprises me. So in that case, there I was in a specific position on the water to capture that, and that's the red arrows from Britain. That provided that unusual formation of the airplanes flying at the Chicago Air Show. So, but yeah, I mean that's my approach with all of this. I do not show up at a spot and just say, "Boy, I hope it really works out today." I come up with a plan.
Well, I should have known that. So, I mean, your work is just so incredible. When I look at the landscapes, the sunsets, and how you capture the city and the architecture, because we're known for architecture here in Chicago, you're really able to illustrate that with your photography. What excites you about taking that picture, that really unique picture that you take day in and day out?
Well, my intent every time is at least, my goal, I'm hoping that I'm going to capture a moment that can't be replicated. So I'm, always searching for uniqueness, a special angle, a unique composition, however you want to look at it. So it's sort of like putting a puzzle together every day. So that's what, and I put that puzzle typically together 24 hours ahead of time. So I'm always like, okay, where am I going to be tomorrow? And, what are the conditions? What's the wind going to be like? And so it's kind of fun putting the puzzle together. I mean, there's some people who do crossword puzzles, or they do other things or some of those word games that you do online. But that's my amusement every day.
I love it. What would you say inspires you? Like, what would you say is your inspiration for following this? Because I assume that you are also working another full-time job as you do your photography.
Well, what motivates me, I think I think the best way to answer that is, if people will ask me, how do you become successful with photography, or how can I get noticed, and how can I increase my likes? That's the thing I actually get amused by when someone asks me that question, because I say to them, hey, listen, go capture the moments, and however you're going to do that, with the things that you enjoy, the things that you love, the things that are of interest. Because that's the first thing I think with any type of art. I don't care if it's photography, video, paintings, or whatever, sculptures. It's got to come from inside. It's got to be authentic. And if you are doing things to appeal to people, that's probably the biggest mistake. So, I and this doesn't sound, I hope it doesn't come off like sounding like selfish, but I shoot for me. So,
Good for you.
I shoot and sit and say, okay, I got a kick out of that. That was fun. And then, I'll post it, and, if someone likes it, great. If not, I'm not offended. I'm like, okay, well, I enjoyed it. So, and I think that's where, and if you talk to musicians and how they write their songs, and, they write the songs because it was reflecting of how they felt at the moment, or they really got a kick out of the way that their guitar sounded, or the drums sounded, or whatever. So, I mean, that's where it should start. And that's where my head is every day. I mean, there are many times where someone says, well, why don't you go shoot over in Evanston? I'm like, well, I don't care about Evanston. I mean, it's a nice town, but it doesn't really motivate me,
Right.
And so and there are other people, well, hey, why don't you do headshots? I'm like, well, I like people, but that doesn't really interest me. So I do the stuff that I enjoy, and I've been very, very, very fortunate that people like my work. And but yeah, that what you see is what you get there. I'm not I'm not into worried about if I get 2,000 likes on a photo. It's I appreciate it. I so appreciate when people make nice comments. But that's not driving me. And where I think in any art, if you are trying to, compromise or change the way that you believe in something to make other people happy, I think that's where we all kind of fall apart in our successes. So that's kind of my little rant when it comes to that. It kind of explains where I'm at shooting wise, I think.
I couldn't agree more. I think that when we're true to ourselves, then our real talent comes out and speaks for itself. And you've described sort of an ethos, if you will. That's a Greek word, ethos. And you seem to be, Barry Butler, part of the fabric of Chicago and Ireland. So because you've put your ethos into that and your love of those places. But tell me your most beloved aspect of capturing the energy of Chicago and Ireland, some of the Ireland pictures that you have. I have some relatives on my husband's side that are Irish. I'm full-blown Greek, but I think I'm going to purchase some of your prints for my Irish relatives.
Well, I would appreciate that. That's kind of you. Well,
I mean it.
Yeah, the only challenge with Ireland is that I'm only there twice a year, so I try to, pack in some of the spots that are special to me. I'm from the east coast of Ireland, so a good number of the images I show are from the east coast of Ireland, though I have a huge love of Donegal, which is what I call an authentic part of Ireland now, because it's still kind of back the way it was, not a lot of modern things. So it's, I like that. I like the authentic look. I like things that really haven't changed too much. And, even when I look at the city of Chicago, there was a conversation I was having this morning with someone about an area that I used to shoot a lot. And I said, well, I loved it up until the city decided to make it look like it's a shopping mall, at least in my head, it doesn't look like a shopping mall, but right, it looks all clean, and it's nicely, landscaped, and there's, really nice sidewalks, and that doesn't interest me anymore. So I like things that were just kind of somewhat created by nature.
Couldn't agree more. One of my favorite shots of yours that I've seen online, it's called Sunrise at Greystones in Ireland. It's just magnificent. It really is. It's magnificent.
Yeah, I got pretty wet taking that one.
Really? Because it's always raining over there.
Yeah. Well, no, I got wet from the water. And that's, that's the east coast of Ireland. That's right on the Irish Sea. Greystones is in County Wicklow. I was out there one morning, and that was a fun shoot. And, as you can see, one of the great things about Ireland is, the color green is strong in Ireland,
Yes.
And that's thanks to what you just mentioned. There's tons of rain. But fortunately, where I was, there's a lot of precipitation there because of the fact that it was along the Irish Sea.
Barry Butler is a photographer of landscape, and he's won awards, and he's all over the place. He's got an upcoming exhibit in Chicago. But first, you've published a book also. It's called Chicago, A City Above. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, with online and my stuff up on social for years, people had asked would I do a book, and I kind of asked a bunch of people, a bunch of publishers, the cost of doing a book, and the book I wanted to do was, by the time they got all their cuts and everything that they wanted to do, way too expensive. I just sat there and said, no one's going to be able to afford the book that I want to do. So I decided to self-publish. And I literally finished that book at the start of the pandemic, which I will recommend to you. Never start anything at the start of a pandemic, because all your ideas when something would get done are thrown out the window. But yeah, I published that book and sold a lot of books. I still have books now. There's not a week that goes by that I don't sell a few books, along with, I sell prints and jigsaw puzzles, and, my calendar for 2023 is going out shortly. So, but yeah, the book, it's sort of like a portfolio book. It's a great book for, if you'd like something on, in an office, sitting in the lobby area, or on a cocktail table at home, and you'll be able to just see all the beauty that's in Chicago. Broke up the book into 4 sections: drama, spirit, light, and flow. And so there's 4 themes in the book. And so it allows me to kind of bunch up my photos so they all make sense. There's not a lot of text in there. That's by design. But there's over 100 some odd photos in that image, and it's only in that book, and it's only $40. So it's in my opinion, it's a well done book, and it really captures a lot of the unique views and unique moments of Chicago. So it was a labor of love, that's for sure.
It sounds like a wonderful gift. We'll have to check it out. And your website is Barry Butler Photography?
Yes, .com. Yes, thank you.
.com. Okay, let's talk about, because this is really why I wanted to reach out to you, even though I've been following your photography and your beautiful pictures and really feeling like a part of Chicago through your pictures and through your vision. You've got an exciting exhibition coming up. Tell us about it.
Yeah, and I'm excited about it, especially after I've seen it completed. The union carpenters at Navy Pier have taken all my work and put it up on a 60-foot wall area at Navy Pier. The concept of the exhibit is called, the title is called Flow, Water Brings Life to Chicago. And the images have everything to do with, the river, with Lake Michigan, even Buckingham Fountain, because there's water involved with that. And just my feeling when I think about all the fun things in Chicago, there's a there's a water element to it. So, for example, we have the Air and Water Show happening this weekend in Chicago. So, that is, it's all along the lakefront. We do the dyeing of the river at St. Patrick's Day, and so there goes the river. Buckingham Fountain I've talked about. We have the fireworks at Navy Pier, and where are the fireworks? They're coming off the water. So that's really all those images kind of have that theme. There's a water theme involved. It's going to sound funny when I say this. When they completed the exhibit, putting everything up on the wall, I was like, wow, I took those photos. Those actually look pretty good, because I'm really critical of my work. So it was like one of the few times, and it was the same also with the book, where one of the few times where I've kind of said, wow, okay, I guess I'm doing something right here. So I really like the exhibit. It's in a good spot with Navy Pier, so you have a mixture of tourists certainly seeing it, and you have people who live here who can come by and see the exhibit. The nice thing about it is that it'll be there for 16 months. So it's through the end of December 2023. So it's not what I maybe have done in the past where I had an exhibit up for a weekend or a week or two or something like that. This is a permanent exhibit. And at points of it, I will change up some of the imagery. For example, one of my thoughts is as we get closer to the holiday time, I'll kind of put some holiday theme images in the exhibit just to kind of keep it topical. And we'll see from there how the images evolve over the next 16 months. But I'll tell you that if I just kept the 22 that are up there right now, I would be proud to say that that's my work.
Well, you're really fortunate and blessed to have that euphoric moment to see your work, something you're passionate about, displayed so that the whole world can feel your joy and your talent. And I want to congratulate you for that. And Barry, I actually think that is a part of wellness. When we can do what we love, it fuels us. I feel like that may be the case for you. It certainly is for me when I'm working. And water is a life source. So great theme. I love the association there. A sunset above all, the Chicago 60-mile sunset. Some of your pictures just speak volumes. I was like trying to figure out to say I had a favorite, but there's just so many. Do you have, because I know you have limited time now, but do you have a favorite picture in your repertoire?
Well, I think the best way to answer that is that I have images that I've taken that have taught me something or have captured a moment that were like, wow, that was really darn cute, cool, or I did a lot of work to get to that point. One of them is Autumn Afternoon. It's the probably a image that people always think about when they think of some of my work because it's been out there for a while. It's an image in autumn where there's a gentleman sitting on a bench at Fullerton Avenue, and there's the gold tones of the leaves hanging over him, and then there's the skyline in the background, and you just see him just taken in the moment. Now, the funny thing about the image and why it means a lot to me is that I had a different composition set up for that shot. And unfortunately, when I had that composition set up, this guy who eventually sat on the bench was going backward and forward in the middle of my composition, and under my breath, I was not saying very nice things about the guy because I'm like, I only got 10 minutes here to take this shot. Could you please, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I changed the composition and then took the shot. There's just one shot. And the reason for that is that I took the image, and this doesn't happen often, but I elected to, and this is a nice thing about digital photography because you have that immediate feedback on the back. I went to the back of my shot and just double checked, was everything in focus, because everything had changed, and I do a lot of manual focusing. And I'm like, okay, did I get the aperture right? Did I get everything right? And I'm like, look, okay. Oh, wow, okay, I got this. And then I looked up, and he was gone. So he only sat for a moment. So I have no idea who that gentleman is, but that gentleman helped me make a tremendous amount of money. And again, it's an image that was not planned, him being there, but I was able to pivot, in a moment when things were not going right, and it worked out. And but yeah, it just taught me to be patient. It taught me to have faith that things will work themselves out. And so anytime like I'm having a rough go with photography, and you'd love to think that every time you go out everything is just going to be perfect, but there are a lot of elements that come into the picture, no pun intended. I just remind myself, like, okay, remember that time you got all huffy and puffy inside about things were not working out, and look what happened. So it taught me a lesson, and it's a lesson that I haven't forgotten. I took that photo now almost 10 years ago, and there isn't a day that goes by that it's not in my head to remind myself, just be patient. It will work out.
Good for you. Some sage advice for us as well. And P.S., I love the fact that you title your images Autumn Afternoon, 60-Mile Sunset. Those are cool. Like, does it take you a long time to think of your titles?
No, it usually comes right when I take it.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, and what's funny about the 60-mile sunset is that it's not 60 miles away from Chicago, but I drove 60 miles to take that photo.
There you go. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, it's actually, if you measured where I was across the lake, it's probably about 35 miles or something like that. But I drove 60 miles. So in my mind, it was the 60-mile sunset that I went to go, take that shot.
There you go. I think I've actually seen your pictures on WGN.
Oh, yeah. Well, WGN and several other television stations are very good about, promoting my work, and they've done features on me, or they ask me to come on the station and talk about maybe a unique moment that people should take advantage of from a photographic standpoint. So all the TV stations have been wonderful, and a lot of them are asking to come out to the exhibit and talk to me about the exhibit. So I've been very fortunate that the TV stations have been wonderful supporters of mine.
Barry Butler, you are an acclaimed photographer here in Chicago and Ireland, and we are so honored that you had time to speak with us today. And I want to say that one thing that we've learned today, at least I have, is that we really should pursue what we're born to do. I can feel that in your voice and your work and everything that you've said today. I always like to end my interviews with this one final question, and the question is, Barry Butler, in my life, I've learned that.
It goes by quickly. And just when you think you have a lot of time, you don't. And I think what was it? Was it Buddha who had said something like something to the effect like you think you have enough time, And I think that's the thing that we learn. So it's the classic case of capture the day, enjoy the moment. Don't get caught up on the negative things that are happening out there. Find the goodness that's out there, because there's a lot of it, and it's very easy to kind of focus on negative. That actually takes no creativity. So find the happiness, and that's the other thing I say to my sons on a regular basis: find your happiness. Doesn't matter what it is, just go find it, and then the rest will take care of itself.
Stay right there. Up next, your weekly takeaway to keep it all as well. Ola Kala.
This Ola Kala moment brought to you by the law offices of Liston and Centillus. Ranked number 1 by the leading lawyers network since 2010, taking care of all your real estate needs.
In today's episode with Barry Butler, we hear about the color green and how visibly beautiful it is in parts of Ireland. Green evokes a feeling of abundance, and it is associated with peace and calm. Green food is another way to experience the color. Why not bring green into your kitchen? 1, each day add a little basil, dill, cilantro, or parsley to your meal plan. 2, plant and keep an herb at your windowsill. 3, prepare creatively with greens and green lettuces. With 5 varieties, it's easy to make that salad exciting. And it's Ola Kala when you drink 3 to 5 cups of green tea a day to lose weight and reduce risk of disease, so you can remain all as well.
Kefi L is the founder of Kefi Life. She is passionate about whole person wellness and living a fulfilled life. Her Kefi Life podcast is created to simply and naturally help you harmonize the mind, body, and soul the Greek way. Visit KefiLife.com, at KefiLife365 on Instagram, and check out Kefi Vale on LinkedIn and on Twitter. Join us again next time for more positive energy and inspiration on Kefi Life.